Rich, today we're sitting down with Lindy Nowak from Up in a Day websites. And I love her story about moving from corporate America to starting her own business and then figuring out maybe this business isn't exactly the way I want it, making some pivots and tweaks to have the business she has today.
And things really caught on for her when she learned how to productize her service, which is a unique story. I had never heard about productizing a service before.
Yeah, way too many entrepreneurs start going in one direction and just feel stuck. They feel like they got to continue in that same direction. I love the way that she pivoted her business, found what she really wanted to do for the next 5 years, and has a clear direction on what she wants to achieve. Here's Lindy.
Hey, are you looking for a rewarding and profitable entrepreneurial opportunity? Consider owning a CertaPro painting franchise with a startup cost of $250,000 and an average franchise revenue of $1.8 million. CertaPro is a low-risk, high-reward investment. As a CertaPro franchise owner, you'll receive extensive training and ongoing support and have access to proven business models that have been successful for over 3 decades. Plus, you'll work with a team of highly dedicated professionals who are passionate about helping homeowners transform their spaces. Visit CertaPro.com/franchise to learn more about this exciting opportunity and start your journey towards financial success today.
Lindy, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Unite.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
You're down in Miami while I'm up here freezing in New Hampshire today. And I'd like to know a little bit more about Lindy. Tell me more about your background professionally as an entrepreneur or otherwise.
I actually started my career in corporate. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I am the only one out of 20 people that went the corporate route. I studied graphic design, graduated, found myself in New York City with $500 in my pocket and a job that paid nothing, but I learned so much. I was in New York for about 12 years, worked my way up to being a creative director. I was brand side for a long time. I worked at L'Oreal. I worked in Brazil for a short stint at an agency there on the L'Oreal account and came back to New York and worked for a company called Carol's Daughter. And then I transitioned into publishing, which was amazing. And I think that's really where the entrepreneurial spirit was sparked.
Okay.
Because when I was in publishing, I was on the marketing and sales side, and there was so much opportunity to do so many things for advertisers, sponsors, events, digital marketing, print, you name it, just packaging everything together and getting it sold. And then I had an opportunity 6 years ago to move to Miami with my husband. And it was February in New York. And I said, yes, please, it's time. 12 years in New York. So when I moved to Miami, I did my best to search everywhere for a creative director position, one that speaking Spanish wasn't a requirement. And I just found that I didn't fit in anymore. I don't think I ever fit into corporate. I always felt like I could give so much more and I was boxed in. Plus the idea of just being always like inside in a tight office, just politics, all that stuff. So shortly after I moved to Miami, realizing that there isn't a position here for me that I even want, I said, let's do this. Read a few books and decided to go off on my own. And I started a small digital marketing agency called Lino Creative, and we were doing quite well. And if about a year in, I realized that I wasn't fulfilled. I still felt like I was working that corporate position. We were on retainer. Even though it was like fun and I had a fun little team, something was still not right. And one day I was listening to a webinar and they were talking about productizing your services. And I was like, that's it. That's what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to create a product where people, they come in the door, we sell the product, we make it for them, and then we send them on their way. So a few months later, I'm thinking, and I was watching another webinar, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I know what it is," and that's how Up in a Day came to be.
Interesting. So I wanted to give this a couple of deeper dives. So you were in corporate America for how long?
12 years.
12 years. You have an opportunity to move to Miami. You're thinking, fantastic. This sounds much better than where I'm at currently, from at least a temperature perspective at a minimum. You move to Miami. You're trying to find some corporate jobs there, not really finding it, but also maybe having this inkling that may not be for you. So you start your own digital marketing firm, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how long did you have this company?
Oh, less than a year, maybe
Okay.
11 months. So not long.
Okay. So talk to me about that experience, right? You left corporate America, so I'm going to do my own thing. You jump into starting your own business, and you mentioned something about you weren't completely fulfilled. Can you tell me more about what that means exactly? Like, why weren't you fulfilled? What exactly was missing in your mind?
I felt like when you're providing a service, especially a creative service, sometimes you can get stuck in that almost like freelancer feeling position where you're like working for the client. And it was very demanding. And I wish I had a true like sparked moment where I was like, this is exactly why it's not for me. But it
Hmm.
wasn't. It was, I had the freedom. I set it up perfectly for that. I made my own schedule. I hired whoever I wanted, freelance freelancers around the US. We had clients that were big. So clients that I brought in as referrals from New York. And then we had some smaller clients here in Miami. And those were the clients I really loved. And those were the clients that were the most fulfilling. So I started I guess it was just like a kind of a long transition. The bigger clients were the ones that I was like, this is too much. I don't feel like working this hard,
Yep.
like, and not making enough money.
Hmm.
But what was so fulfilling was working with the small businesses who were trying to grow their business and helping them ideate, becoming a partner with them. And I started thinking, this is cool. Like, I really like being on that kind of smaller scale in terms of helping small businesses from a digital marketing perspective. And then, and then we were designing a lot of websites in Squarespace and Shopify, and we were doing them really well. And started getting more and more clients. And then we started getting clients that were coming to us as referrals, like desperate for a website yesterday because whatever reason they got burned.
Yeah.
They designed their site or they spent $10,000 on a site that's nowhere on Google, can't get into it. And I had to keep turning them away. So that coupled with the fact that we were still helping the small businesses, but had to turn people who we knew we could help. I just didn't have it built into our margins to say, sorry, I don't even know where to send you except to a freelancer for that price was disheartening. And so,
I want to double back to a piece of your story where you said you were in New York and you had $500. Like that, if there's anything that's double clickable, it's there's a story behind that. How did you end up in New York? Why did you only have $500? Like you could spend over $500 easily on dinner, one dinner in New York. You're in New York, I'm assuming, for more than dinner, and you got 500 bucks.
yes. The day I graduated, I moved back home to Stuart, Florida. I'm originally from Michigan, but this is where
Okay.
my parents were at the time. And I'm going to date myself. That was 03, 02. So $500 got you a little bit farther than today.
Might get dinner and apps.
And that was the year of I can't remember what it was called, but there was a huge hurricane that blew into Florida and just decimated the area around my parents' city. And so I started doing hurricane cleanup like that second week. And one guy paid me $500 to clean sticks off his roof. And that was my $500 I moved with. And so so when I graduated, I had like nothing because my parents didn't give me any money. I had a little bit of money from like savings from working at the restaurant to save. And then the the same week that I got paid the $500, I got an opportunity to move to New York City for an internship.
Okay.
That's how I made my way there. Actually, I should say my mom did pay for my airplane. But yeah, I moved there with 2 suitcases and $500 in my pocket. I stayed on the sofa of a friend's place for a while. I feel like this is such a New York story. Started making a little bit of money, moved into a train style apartment that had roaches. I mean, you name it, it's such a dump. 6 people lived there, but I loved it because I didn't know anything else. I'm in New York City. And then just started obviously making a little bit more money and moved my way out of there.
Yeah,
But it's
thanks for
funny,
sharing. And I think you said you got into publishing after that, not long after that?
I got into publishing when I moved back from Brazil in 2012, and then I was in publishing for quite a few years after that. So that was my most recent, corporate career position. It was the most fun. It was the best. I was started at Bon Appetit magazine, and then I moved to Entertainment Weekly. I remember those guys and people. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So much fun. Oh my gosh. And then from there, I moved to Women's Health magazine, and that was my last corporate position before I moved to Miami.
Okay. And thanks for sharing your story. All of that winds you up here. And what are you up to these days? And why are you so passionate about it?
Now I am a founder of a company that I literally have bootstrapped the last 3.5 years. It's called Up in a Day. And what we do, going back to the story with the small businesses who were desperate for websites, I created a product around, or just specifically for those people. So when that was all happening, I saw a huge gap in the market, coupled with the fact that I was dreaming of creating a productized service of some sort. And I was like, what do I love doing? I love building websites, and the people on my team love building websites, and we're so fast at it. We can do these in a day. Oh my gosh, up in a day. And it was like all within 5 minutes. I'm passionate about it because of how actually it might sound a little cheesy, but building something from scratch, bootstrapping it is terrifying and exciting and extremely rewarding. And then on the client side, something that I had no intuition about, I had no idea that we would be helping so many small business owners. But when we show the website to the client for the first time, just like we're talking right now, it's literally just on a screen share, they are just blown away, especially for the people who get redesigns. They're just like, oh my God, like some people cry, some people like scream. It's literally like the HGTV of websites, because we build the entire website and then we show the client, and then we make all the edits at that time. We publish it, and then we have a whole system that they can access tutorials and everything, or a subscription plan. But yeah, so that's why I'm passionate about it. The building of a company, the bringing on new staff members to really truly helping small businesses who are stuck with their online presence. When I was in New York in publishing specifically, the reason why I dotted around to so many publications is because the publications used to hire me to go into their creative departments and restructure them. Because typically what you find is, especially in corporate, is that the creative departments are inundated with too much work and not enough staff. And then for creatives, you have to be energized, you have to be positive, you have to be not stressed if possible in order to execute. So I would come in and really help those creatives to systemize and create processes around the departments, and then with the communication with the departments outside of them to really streamline the workflow, basically. So with Up in a Day, it's also taking that passion for processes and systems and creating efficient workflows, because the whole purpose is internally keeping our staff as efficient and streamlined as possible and happy. But it's the same thing with the clients. So part of what we tout for Up in a Day is that the process of getting the website is super easy. And that's all within a system and process that I created as well.
You mentioned this productizing your services piece a couple of times. And how did you come to learn about what that is and what is it?
Oh, that's a good question. I was just watching a webinar, and sorry, I can never remember his name, and I should.
It's all right.
And all he does is he helps creative agencies productize their services. And he's like an individual, he's a coach and consultant, and you can hire him to figure out what your passion is and what you guys are good at, and then he helps you productize. So for me, productizing is creating a product. The product is the website. And then the systems and the processes are part of that product as well, to get so that everything is the same for every client that comes in the door. It works just like clockwork. And so that's the productized part. And it's the reason why we can scale and build these websites so fast.
So
What's
Lindy,
not
just so
so fun is finding staff and finding sales.
oh, okay. We'll dive into
Another
that one in a second.
conversation.
But just so I understand, you mentioned Shopify and a few other things before. So do you build sites specifically for e-commerce? Do you build sites for just any, business? What exactly do you target?
Typically, it's for service-based websites, so business card websites.
Okay.
We do e-commerce, and we actually don't do Shopify right now. We usually just that turnaround time is just way too long, and the client needs to be part of that build out as well because of the back end inventory system. However, we use Squarespace and we can do e-commerce. We just it's fine if your inventory is low and easy to work with and you can manage the inventory, then we'll definitely do e-commerce. But we also, I guess this is e-commerce as well. We also do like courses, like course creation areas in the sites, and then membership areas. So with paywalls or free.
Okay. So I want to come back to Rich's question about productizing your service. And what I find interesting is you started off as a digital marketing company. Digital marketing to me is we need your website. We're going to do Google ads for you. We're going to do social. We're going to do content. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do everything. And then you said, forget about all that. I'm going to do one thing and we're going to productize this and we're going to make it like the best thing we could possibly do, as opposed to trying to provide all these different types of levels of services. So I'm assuming that part of the message is Rich and I, we've talked about this a little bit over time, like the riches are in the niches. Be good at one thing and just nail it as opposed to trying to be everything to everybody. Is that part of your recipe here?
100%. When I started Up in a Day, it was Google ads set up in a day, Instagram ads in a day, Facebook ads in a day, or you could buy the whole bundle. That's a lot to launch a business with. And at
Mhm.
the same time, that was when Apple's iOS got really strict. And so the digital marketing ads, especially on Instagram and Facebook, the whole pixel, remember that?
Yeah.
Facebook pixel. Well, that's how we made all our money because we were really good at doing that for small businesses, especially e-commerce businesses. And then all of a sudden the sales stopped. And then your client is, why isn't this working for me anymore? What's going on? I'm paying you all of this money and I'm not getting any ROI out of it. And we were just like, oh, and Facebook's going, oh, everyone's flailing. And I was just like, I'm done. I don't even want to be a part of this. It can't be, I just can't charge a premium for a service that I cannot execute on 100%. You can't promise anything. And that's just not the way I like to do business. I remember the last client I had that hired us to do Facebook ads, made like no money, and I just refunded him everything except
Yeah.
our setup costs. And that's when I was like, done. And I knew that websites, we just love doing them. They're so fun and they're super creative, and we were just so really good at it, and we enjoyed making them. So I said, let's just focus on the websites because that's what we're best at, and that's what we can get the most ROI from for our clients.
Yeah. You speak about things changing and evolving, right? Facebook makes some changes and all of a sudden everybody has to adapt, right? And things like that. I'm sure AI is a big conversation, and I've tested a few of them, by the way, not very successfully, I might add, where it's like, oh yeah, put in three things and your website will pop out. I'm like, oh really? Let me try this, and it comes out. I'm like, okay, yeah, this needs a lot more work. But there's a lot of tools that are coming, and one of them is this AI movement. How are you adapting with that as it relates to your business and your customers?
Great question. I am trying not to let that be the big bad wolf. And honestly, I don't believe that it ever will be, just by nature of the need for actual personal presence, like somebody to understand your brand, understand your business, be able to execute on a website that actually works for your business and brings in the right clients, doesn't waste your time on the phone with people who can't afford your services, like all that stuff through messaging and user experience. Sure, you can go into a AI website. What do you call them? AI generating website
Yeah.
that generates websites. That's Squarespace's, but I just feel like it's going to be a long road to get there. I do feel like for us already our messaging has changed, has shifted. Whereas before it was like fast and easy, awesome websites, for example, to actually get ROI out of this website, like a website that your business deserves, a website that increases your traffic, speaks to the right people through messaging. And so taking more of the sales approach to our messaging, and we're actually working that in right now because and also very important, putting our faces and my team's faces in front of the audience. So if you go on our website now, you'll see our team is on there just below the header. And automatically, I know who's behind this. There are people behind this. They're not using AI. I hope I do not have to start using language on our website that's, we don't use AI. Da, da, da. So we'll see. I'm not too worried about it because I'm so confident in the work that we do and the value that we provide outside of just AI that, and plus, like our target market, they're typically 45 to 65. And they're busy business owners. They're deeper pockets. They don't have time to figure out how to use AI. They don't want to. And that's our client. Just they come to us, they give us their assets. We have a call and they're like, you know what? Just design my website, like blues. I love blues, or I love the outdoors, like anything. Just give me a great website. That's our client who's too busy to do like the nitpicking and lots of rewrites on their website. The expectations are met and set at the beginning. We design their website and then they're good to go.
You had mentioned your team was on the website. I just pulled it up real quick on my other monitor here as I'm listening to you. And it looks like you have 5 total now. You have yourself plus 4 team members.
Those are, that's the management team.
Okay.
So yeah, I can't put everybody in there. We have 3 copywriters, 2 proofreaders, and 6 designers. So we have grown very quickly in the last year and a half. When I started Up in a Day, it took me, I did barely even started. I think I designed 2 sites for free just to test the product. And then it took 8 months just to devise the business model, and then product testing and market testing. And then finally we're on a good growth spurt.
Okay. So, it sounds like 16 people total. First of all, congratulations on the success on 3.5 years of bootstrapping to grow to feed the families of 16 people is quite the success. What is your vision for the company?
The vision is to be the go-to trusted source for your online presence. I'm going to say websites now. Vision we obviously will expand our services within the website build and or outside, but it's truly to be that trusted source for small businesses, solopreneurs, 1 to 5 people shops to really help grow their business. And
Okay.
also like increase our sales per month, of course.
And what are your goals?
Oh, my goal is to be able to set up, in all transparency, my personal goal or Up in a Day's goals.
Either way, just what I'm thinking of, where do you take this as for 3.5 years? You've grown it, you have 16 people. I want to get a feel for where are you taking this in the future and what are your goals on how you get there?
This weekend, I just sat down after way too long of doing this, like almost a year, and I did my 5-year like outlook plan.
Okay. Yeah.
Where I see the basically a vision of where I see myself and Up in a Day as a company in 5 years. And it's in order To reach the revenue goal, I looked at how many sites we need to build per month, how many staff I need to do that. I need 3 other Lindys to do what I do now, plus sales, plus additional designers, people. Most of our staff, they are contractors. So probably at that point in time, 5 years from now, then we have a lot of full-time staff. But I would like to keep everybody virtual. I think when I started Up in a Day, it was before COVID, and that was my vision for the company. Everyone is doing their own thing. No one's coming to an office. We all meet on Zoom. It has so far proven so much success, and it works beautifully. It's the same with our clients. So part of the systems and how we communicate internally. So that's a long-winded answer. Frankly, oh my gosh, I was looking at this list. I'm looking at it right now, actually. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then you ask yourself, what is success? You want to like prosper. You start as a founder. It's really important for me to have a lifestyle that I've always wanted to live. So I have to balance how big I want the company to be with figuring out how many websites we can build to have the lifestyle I want without being an overwhelm and working 24/7. And then what is that price point for the website that will get us there incrementally year over year? And frankly, I set Up in a Day to make my life fun, enjoyable, and easy, and to be able to release myself from the 12-hour days, which will come hopefully in 5 years. And so I can travel the world. That's my biggest passion in life, is to see this entire world. So if Up in a Day can get me there, amazing.
In using contractors, how do you maintain consistency of your brand and the delivery of your brand in using contractors, particularly when they're part-time?
That's a good question too. So when we bring on designers, without giving away too much proprietary information, there's an onboarding protocol that we have internally that's pretty streamlined, although it is evolving. It's almost like courses in a way that the designers have to run through, do a test, and then typically they'll work with the creative director or myself on their first site, and then we let them go. So that does get tricky when they are all contractors, but at the same time, it's also nice because you don't know when your next sale's coming in. So to have somebody just like waiting there on the sidelines is a lot of pressure to pay them hourly or whatever monthly if we don't have any websites coming in the door. So that's like a whole sales machine that we're still figuring out.
Makes sense. And with your vision of scaling the company and maintaining virtual, how will you keep team members working together versus in silos? What's your approach to that?
Weekly meetings, 2 types of weekly meetings. So you have your management weekly meeting, or 2, one at the beginning of the week, one at the end. And then throughout the week, you have team meetings with everybody at play. The contractors that are just sitting on the sidelines, for example, our copywriters, they have their own freelance business. So they're doing their own thing. We just check in with them. If, for example, we have a whole month where clients don't buy any copywriting services from us, then we just make sure we just check in with them, see how they're doing, do a quick Zoom call. But face-to-face on video calls is everything. Like huddles on Slack are not for team meetings. Like Zoom is everything. And then just having a very structured Zoom every week and having someone that manages, I'm like the orchestrator, somebody manages all of the topics that we need to cover. Somebody's taking notes, and that's through my management team and my VA. So I think that so far that's been working beautifully. From a scaling standpoint, hopefully we'll have software programs in 5 years that really allow us to maybe we're like 3D. Everyone's like putting their goggles on and we're all in the same room. I swear to God.
It's coming.
Oh, have you guys seen, there's a software out there, I forgot what it's called, where it's a team, it's like your daily team, and it's set up like a video game, and you have it up during your entire 8-hour day, and it shows the office layout like flat if you're looking at it from above, and then you are a character, and then when you are talking to somebody on Zoom, it or whatever platform they use for these video calls, the characters like move around to their office. It's insane. And then if you want to talk to somebody, you can go to their office and knock on the door and like pings them like a Slack.
That's
So
funny.
I don't know, we could do that.
Who knows where we're going with that stuff? Lindy, I got a few questions here for you, almost quick hitters. How does someone know, or how do you know when your business needs a new website?
Hmm. When there's a huge, two reasons or two ways, I guess. One, when there's a huge drop off of visitors to your website.
Okay.
Two, your business has evolved and your messaging has evolved. Your business, as a small business, you're always evolving. So keeping your website up to date is huge from a messaging and design standpoint. So as soon as you offer a new product or something, even to the smallest nano bit of a service or product that is changing or has changed, your website needs to be updated because people go there. They're shopping online, they're comparison shopping online. And when they do get to your website, whether it's from search or a referral, they're looking for those answers. And if your product or your service is not communicating clearly or effectively, they're going to bounce.
Okay.
I'm not going to call you. We're all too busy to call and like, hey, I saw this on your website, but can
Sure.
you tell me, is that real?
So you build a new website with up in a day, or you have a new site. Then what is the one biggest thing that businesses and entrepreneurs should do to keep their website fresh and top of mind in their customers' eyes?
Ooh. First, blogging, you could add a blog or case studies to your website, and then you tout it out onto your social media channels when something new happens. If you do webinars, event, any type of event for your company, putting it on your website in a section that's constantly being updated, that's huge. Getting people there from social is everything. And keeping your website privy to what's happening in your business right now is so important.
Okay. Love it. What is the biggest opportunity? So I already have a website. Unfortunately, I don't need one as an example. What's the one thing that I could do on my website today that could improve what I have? Is there any trick or any tip you'd give someone? Say, if you don't have this on your website, make sure you figure this one out.
The one thing,
Just the biggest one.
biggest one would make sure that your call to action buttons are all the same and all super, super clear. People want to be told what to do when they get to your website, and you have to talk to them like kindergartners. So your call to action buttons, what you want them to do on your site, the one thing, that's where it needs to be all over your site. Homepage, about,
Yeah.
services. Yeah, that's the biggest one for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. And this is the most important one. What has been the best location you have ever traveled to that you'd say, if you've never been here, you need to go?
Paraty in Brazil, which is just south of Sao Paulo, and on a little island. There's a little island off of Paraty called Trindade. That is breathtaking. It is like you're in the jungle, and it's just on the beach. It's just incredible. That's the place.
Wow. Love it. Lindy, thanks for joining us today. If people want to get more, how do they reach you?
Through our website, upinaday.co.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please stick around for a few more minutes while Rich and I break down this episode.
John, among other things in the conversation with Lindy, I love where she ended, which was that call to action. And she said, making it super clear. Gosh, when I took a note on that on my iPad here, and I thought, how many of us, and me in particular, how many times can I be more clear about what the call to action is? Not just on a website, but how about in an email? How about with team members? How about with entrepreneurs that we're working with? The clarity on a call to action is so important. I don't think it can be overstated. And she even said, talk to them like they're an elementary school kid. Like, got to make it super, super clear. I think that's a lesson that's pervasive way outside of websites only.
Yeah, I was listening to an episode of 60 Minutes, I think it was this past week, or maybe it was a different show. I can't even remember. And they were talking about attention span and how attention span of people has just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. Like right now, any clip in a movie is like 5 seconds because you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on all these different platforms, and your attention span is so small. And these websites that we're talking about with Lindy, you're not just getting them on your computer, you're getting them on your mobile device. And it has to be just very crystal clear and clean. What does your business do? How can you solve my problem? And now what do I need to do? And if you don't provide them that, they get lost. They're so confused. I can remember back in the day, somebody coming to our website and saying, "Hey, I've been on your website, but I still don't know what you do."
Mm.
That's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, and she talked about this creating the processes and systems, and she would systematize things. It certainly sounds like she did that with her own onboarding program. When I had asked about with contractors, how do you keep things consistent? How do you deliver on a consistent brand experience when you're using contractors, and particularly when they're part-time? And sounds like she really has her act together with these courses that they take, and they do a sample site, it sounds like, and then it gets reviewed and they get feedback. And it sounds like she really has hit a process and a system for herself on how she's able to scale with that onboarding program she created and maintain the same consistent positive brand.
Yeah. And I think that all goes back to productizing your service. And I don't have a lot of experience, Rich, with productizing a service personally. I've always been involved in services, whether it be consumer services or business services. But when you take something and turn it into a product, the only way to really remain competitive is to really systemize things to a point where your delivery quality is a 9.9 out of 10. Your ability to service it quickly and get it out the door quickly, 9.9 out of 10. Your ability to generate margins from the service is nine. Like you really need to get everything like really crystal clean and tight. And that seems to be something that Lindy's doing with her business.
I don't know if this is the right angle on productizing a service or not. Maybe you can give me a litmus test or your opinion. But
Sure.
what I heard from her on the first part of her answer when I asked a little bit more about that is she said basically she's selling the website. But what her company really does is they build the websites, but she's not selling, we will build your website. She's selling the website, which is the product. And I just thought that was an interesting take. And I thought applied to our business in the painting business, it's interesting. We're selling a painted home. What we do is the service of painting, but the product is a beautified painted home. I think it makes a ton of sense. And I'm just wondering if we broke down many other services, if we stop selling the service and we sell what the product is, that's the end result of that excellent service. If that's a key to having our customers envision themselves getting that product, because at the end of the day, they expect it to be a great experience. They expect it to be a great service, but the service isn't what they're signing up for. They're signing up for the end result of the service.
Yeah, now you're actually talking about sales, right? Which is Ed Milet, one of our former friends from a prior
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
says, "Don't sell the plane ride, sell the vacation." People know they're going to get on a plane to go to Hawaii. Don't sell them the fact we got to get on a plane, we got to get through TSA, we got to get on the plane, we got to find a place for our luggage. They don't want to hear about that. What they want to hear about is the vacation, how awesome that end result is going to be. So I think that applies to any business. I think that the difference here is when you're trying to get a product out the door that's repeatable. You want that product to keep, you want to sell 1,000 of these products on and on versus a specialized service for somebody. You got to really refine that product, but you still have to sell the end result of what you're trying to do as well at the same time. So I think it applies really on the sales side to everybody, but then you have to really have that Six Sigma level systemization of everything that you do to continue to refine when you're actually trying to sell a specific product repeatedly over and over again. By the way, back to what you're talking about with your service, That's a little bit of what companies like yourselves do, right? They come up with a very strong systemized process on how to do an estimate, how to make a sale, how to paint the home. Like you guys have done that, I'm sure, with your business, as do most franchises.
Yeah, and again, I love where you went with that Ed Milet example. Nobody's buying the process. When you go to a restaurant, what you're paying for is really the cooking and preparation of the food. You're paying for how well did they store the food and is it at the correct temperatures? That's what you're paying for, but that's not what's marketed. That's not actually what you're buying. What you're buying is a delicious taste. What you're buying is a beautiful presentation. What you're buying is a great service on how that's plated and delivered to your table with a smile. But what are they in the business of really? What they're in the business is purchasing and storing food and cooking food and having it be cleanly. But that's not the correct way to look at productizing that service. The product is a beautiful plate of food that tastes great, served with a smile.
Yeah, that kind of applies to Lindy's business. When you think about building a website, Rich, it's a very daunting task. It's, oh my gosh, I need this, I need that. It's going to take 3 months to build. Oh my gosh, who's going to do it?
Where do I start?
Yeah, where do I start? And the fact that hers is up in a day, I guess we should have dove a little bit deeper. And how do you do that? Like, how do you get someone's site up in a day? Maybe we should have asked that question specifically, but maybe that's part of our secret sauce as well. It's just, let me take the pain away from you. Don't worry about what happens behind the scenes. Here it is. It's up in a day.